Hey guys, Chrissy from Carolot Farm. Well, we had another little surprise snow yesterday. So as you can see, it's just a touch white. It wasn't much. It didn't even really, it was hardly measurable, let's just say that. But it's beautiful, and it got really, really cold though, which was the surprise. I was expecting it to be mid-20s. It was 16 though, so another pretty chilly night. But I want to say something about our new run-in space here. This is the run-in that is for our winter turnout, where Lady, Rocky, and Shenanigans are currently residing. Well, they have this open run-in with access to their field, and when it's cold and wet, the hope is that they will duck in here where it's a little more protected. And so last night, with that cold, snowy, freezing rain that was falling, I took their hay and I spread it in a long line all along this fence here so that the three of them could share it. Luckily, they get along pretty well. And I can see that not only did they clean that hay up real well last night, but they must have spent a lot of time in here because there's a ton of manure. They were very smart horses, and they did in fact utilize this run-in. So that makes me pretty happy. It's the first time I've seen that they have really spent a significant amount of time under the shelter. I am noticing though that on the front of this run-in for our front winter turnout, we do have a lot of drippage, and the boys were reluctant to go into their feedlots. This right-hand side is not as bad. It might be that it's a slightly higher elevation, but we might need to put a gutter on the front of this barn because I can see that drippage could certainly make it a muddy mess. And, you know, again, the boys really didn't want to go in there. So I tried to move their feed tubs a little farther out, but it looks as though Shenanigans has pulled it right back by the fence there. Normally I leave the boys in their feedlots until Lady here is finished. I go and I feed the others and then I come back. But because it's really drippy out there, I'm going to open their gate so they can come out. But I do, however, want to close Lady's gate because she still has a good while to eat, probably 20 plus minutes. So let me let the boys out, and then I need to go check on the girls who last I saw were very happily munching on their early morning hay as well. Our little red de-icer did a good job, and I already busted the ice in the gray trough earlier, but it looks like it's probably needing another chop. It's always a good sign to see your horses drinking in this cold weather. Yeah, the red one's a little warmer, Shan. You're a smart boy. I would imagine a snow like this, just a dusting, will likely be melted and gone by, 12, 1 o'clock today. The roads are clear. It's just a little bit out here on the grass and the trees. Shenanigans is gonna come. Oh, he's gonna say hi. I thought he was gonna come and eat. I thought you were gonna come eat your hay. You can see these two little boys are definitely ready to go out into the big field, which is where they have been enjoying grazing during the daytime hours. But first, I need to go check on the girls in the back, get them finished, and then as soon as Lady is done with her breakfast, I can turn all three of them out. So these girls, like the other three, have already had morning hay, and now it's just time to give them their grain. But everyone's pretty content. Again, it was so cold. I came out as soon as I got up because I wanted them to have something to eat to help warm them up. But now we're having breakfast a little later than usual, but better late than never. I want to give a little update on Sweetheart. A few days ago, I came out in the morning and she wasn't whinnying, she wasn't calling like usual, and I was suspecting she wasn't feeling 100%. She was having a little bit of a mild flare-up, and so I gave her some medicine. I've been watching her closely for a few days, and I am still continuing to give her a little medicine on occasion when I hear that she's having some airway issues. And again, she's doing all right. She's not 100%, but she's back to calling and all, which is good. It tells me she feels a little bit better when she's going to whinny and ask me to hurry up. Tells me she's feeling good. But I just have to be really careful with her because I do know she has asthma, and I am feeding loose hay. It's really cold, and I'm going to continue to do so as long as she can tolerate it. But if I see that this flare-up becomes a bigger issue, I might have to pull her off her hay completely and just give her soaked hay pellets. But I'm really hoping that we can keep everything in check so that she can continue to have some loose hay, because that will help warm her, because we are preparing for a really cold snap in a few days coming our way. Looking at the next 7 to 10 day forecast, we could be looking at another snowstorm heading our way next weekend. and we could be looking at temperatures dropping down into like the single digits, which for here in Virginia is really cold. 16 was cold, but single digits is super cold. So I really do hope that Sweetheart can continue to tolerate a little bit of loose hay, especially in the overnight hours, because that is the best way she can really continue to warm herself on those super, super cold nights. As horses eat hay and digest it, it produces heat, and that warms them from the inside out. I'm going to watch her really closely this week, and fingers crossed she continues to improve and moves in the right direction. In my usual fashion, I did spread old hay on my black mats yesterday. When I saw it was beginning to kind of stick and this freezing rain and snow mixture was hanging around, I scraped up all of the old hay that had been sitting in front of the mats and I put it on the mats. And that did help them from getting slick, which was perfect. That was the intention. But you can see the horses, they spent a lot of time here in the barnyard. There's a huge concentration of manure. There's a little in the stalls, but these girls tend to go to the bathroom outside of the stalls, which I appreciate. But I'm just really glad that nothing was too slick last night. Snuggles is actually over here breaking the ice. How helpful. It was a fairly thin layer of ice, but she's preferring to truly drink from the warmer trough, which is not a real surprise. She's a funny one. She almost always trots down that little hill and out to the hay. The ice that Snuggles was helping to loosen, it's about a 1/4 inch thick across the center. I'm going to remove this whole giant piece, and then the tub will slowly warm a little today. We're going to have, I think, highs around 40, so we'll get some good melting, and we'll have to keep an eye on these troughs though, because next week, if it really does dip as low as they're saying it might, that's going to be some pretty thick ice. Something I've started doing this winter, because I tend to have 2 troughs for my horses, one that might freeze and one that doesn't because of the de-icer. I am taking the ice out of the frozen trough and putting it into the tub that has a de-icer, and that helps to melt it. It also helps to refill the water level, so I'm not filling my troughs quite as often. But that's kind of a little tip that I have just started this winter. Now that Lady is finished, it's time to turn these 3 out. They get a little turnout time in the larger field for a few hours each day. And then after that, my morning tours will be complete. A small dusting of snow like this is no problem for the horses. They can very easily, graze on the grass beneath. But when we have a thicker, more solid blanket of snow, that can be a much harder task for them. That was not the case today. These guys can graze very easily out here. Thank you so much for joining us today as we went about our morning routine. Everyone is doing really well after that small little dusting of snow. And as you can see, most of it has already melted. But we do know that we could have some super cold weather and maybe even more snow coming our way. So we will definitely keep our eyes peeled and be on the lookout. Stay warm, stay dry, stay safe, and we hope to see you in the future. Bye, guys.